মিতুল আমরা কি লাইভে আছি?
Yes, this is streaming live now.
Streaming live now? Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Fantastic.
Namaskar.
Don't put sound in.
Let us see. আমরা গেলাম লাইভে। একটা সেকেন্ড দেখছি। So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A very good welcome to Saudha Facebook Live concert and talk series. This journey, this initiative has taken actually about more than 4 weeks ago. And we are overwhelmed to see so many audiences all around the globe are responding so positively to this concert and talk series. And that has inspired us immensely. So that shows music, talk, and art, especially any form of art, is standing beside you when the whole humankind is in a critical situation. So many thanks who are watching. I would request everyone to stay tuned and be the part of this celestial musical session that will give you spiritual remedy and something to focus on in this critical time. And please share in your timeline, Facebook, whatever form it is, and let others have the opportunity to be the part of this sacred session of music. So ladies and gentlemen, let me have the privilege to introduce all of our panel member first. As you know, this session is featuring one of the finest sitar player of this time in the whole globe, Pandit Gaurav Mazumdar. Saudha is so delighted to have him as part of this live talk and concert series today. Many thanks, Gaurav, for joining.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. I'm really delighted to be with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. I also would like to introduce our regular panel members, a poet and a very talented journalist, Sarwari Alam, regular panel member of this series. So many thanks, Sarwari, for joining today.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hope you are fine. And thank you so much, Gaurav, for joining us. It's a great pleasure, really, having you here today. And of course, a very good evening to Shumanadi, Jasmine Appa, and Mithili Appa, of course, Kasturbai. Let's have a great show. Thank you.
Many thanks. I also would like to introduce another panel member, regular panel member of this series, a political activist, a shortlisted candidate of Labour Party MP election, a social justice campaigner, a very good friend, Jasmine Chaudhary. Many thanks, Jasmine, for joining today.
Thank you, Kausarbai. A very warm welcome to Gaurav. Really looking forward to this evening's session.
I also would like to introduce a panel member, regular panel member, a very good friend, spoken word artist, and an organizer, Shaheen Mitul, for joining today.
Thank you very much and welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
I'm also happy to introduce another regular panel member, one of the finest Indian semi-classical vocalists here in Britain, and the founder of a North-based musical organization, Pratibha Performing Arts, Srimati Shumana Malik Boshu, for joining today.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting me here today and looking forward to so much.
So many things. Let me just say a few words about Gaurav, Pandit Gaurav Mazumdar. Many of our audiences, those who are, I mean, most of our audiences are perhaps from non-Bengali background as well. So, and they are quite familiar with Pandit Gaurav Mazumdar's performances. He comes quite often in Britain, and he travels with the torch of Hindustani classical music all around the globe. So as you know, Pandit Gaurav Mazumdar is a Grammy nominated musician. He's born in an illustrious musical family of Allahabad, reaching the zenith of his music education with the legendary Pandit Ravi Shankar. His initial gurus were his father, Sri Dulal Majumdar, Pandit Nandakishore Vishwakarmaji, and cousins, Sri Kamala Bosch and Srimati Jayashree Rai, and uncle Sri J.D. Majumdar. An approved artist of All India Radio and National Television, and an impaneled artist of ICCR, Ministry of External Affairs, for over 2.5 decades. Gauravji, as a performer, has appeared at premier festivals, prestigious venues across the globe, spanning the expanse of Asia, Australia, Europe, Africa, and America. This includes Scottish Symphony for BBC 2019, Chicago Symphony Hall 1997 and 2018, Royal Albert Hall 2002, 2012, and 2017, Belt and Road Festival China 2017. So many prestigious festivals. His performance includes appearance with legendary Pandit Ravi Shankarji, Pandit Kishan Maharajji, Philip Glass, the Royal Philharmonic, Beaton Symphonia, and many world-leading productions. So this is truly an honor to have him as part of today's concert and talk series. We would like to explore the journey and quest of his way of approaching art along with his performance today. So ladies and gentlemen, those who are watching, please share this to your friends and let others have this rare opportunity to be the part of the sacred music. So many thanks again, Gauravda, for being the part of Saudha's concert series. How are you today?
I'm well. I'm doing well. Thank you. I'm enjoying my time at home. Great. Because it's very unusual that I am home for so many days and weeks, and now over a month and a half. I usually travel extensively. So I have got, last 28 years, I have been mostly on the road traveling. So this is the first time I am home with my family, with my daughter, with my wife. And I have had a lot of time of introspection going within myself and looking into my music deeply, practicing more, and teaching a lot of disciples every day. And I have done many compositions in this span of a month and a half. So it's been quite, of course, a challenging time and difficult period for everyone, because we are so used to meeting people, hugging people, and we are social animals. So it's a little difficult, but then when you have something like music, it really helps you overcome this time, which is so unprecedented, I would say, and so unique in terms of the history of mankind that we are going through something like this.
True.
And I'm sure we'll come out when, that's a question, but we'll all come out of this and hopefully.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for this great message of hope. And I also would like to pay our gratitude, Gaurav, to your wonderful parents. Today is Mother's Day. To your mom, who made his son so, or who nurtured his son so beautifully. You became one of the finest sitar players at this moment all around the globe. So our gratitude to all those parents, especially your mom who nurtured you, who gave you huge efforts, perhaps your wife Bodhi, for being such a wonderful mom as well, because you have such a wonderful daughter. Our gratitude, love, and respect to your family members who helped you, who supported you uh, to be a musician at the level you are. So let us start with a bit of music. Our audiences are perhaps being desperate, listening.
Definitely. I would like to dedicate my performance and this thing today to all the mothers who do such a, wonderful job of looking after the house and outside, not just, without them, I think that nothing would move forward an inch. So my tribute, my homage, my regards to all the mothers, my mother, of course, my guru's wife, Chinnama, for being such a wonderful mother. And I will begin with a very beautiful uh, evening rag, Bihag. It's very beautiful, romantic, wonderful scale. I love this rag. And I will begin with Bihag. It's my wife's request that I play this, and I'm going to do that. Thank you.
Over.
Thank you.
সবাই শোনা যাচ্ছে না? আনমিউট করতে হবে।
রবীন্দ্রনাথ থেকে পাঠ করছি। জেলে দিয়ে যাও সন্ধ্যা প্রদীপ বিজন ঘরের কোণে, নামিল শ্রাবণ কালো ছায়া তার ঘনাইল বনে বনে, বিস্ময় আর পরশ প্রতীক্ষায় সজল পবনে নীলে বসনের চঞ্চল কিনারায়, দুয়ার বাহির হতে আজি ক্ষণে ক্ষণে তব কবরীর কবরী মালায় বারতা আসুক মনে, বাতায়ন হতে উৎসুক ওই আখি তব মঞ্জির ধ্বনি পথবে তোমার যে কি যে ডাকি, কম্পিত এই মোর বক্ষের ব্যথা অলোকে তোমার আনে কি চঞ্চলতা ব্যাকুল বনের মুখরিত সমীরণে। অনেক ধন্যবাদ।
Many thanks. So many thanks, Gaurav, for this beautiful recital. Let us perhaps have a bit of audience's feedback. Let's see whether they found us okay, especially the sound, whether the sound is okay, and whether I'm sure they're immersed in the ambience of Behag that Gaurav just painted it.
Thank you. Shahana Banerjee ji is watching with us, and she has written, Namaskar Gaurav da, Tilak Sham shunte chai.
Many thanks.
Shonit Gupta, Pranam da, Jai Mehta, Pranam Gaurav ji. And Mohit Lal, Pranam Bhaiya. Rita, Pranam Gaurav ji. So lots of pranams. Jahangir Noman, pranam.
Thank you.
Many thanks those who are watching. This is a humble request to each one. Please leave your feedback. I'm sure you are equally overwhelmed, enthralled by the beautiful celestial sacred recital. But please do share this link. This is important. This is a great support because through this event, our aim is to reach as many audiences as possible and give a solace, give a remedy to all of the audiences who are watching, and also to connect the audiences who may find this music as a way of remedy. So please help us connecting as many audiences as possible. Gaurav, just before we move on to perhaps audiences want more recitals, but we want to talk and explore about you as well. Shumana, are you trying to say something? It looks like you.
I'm just speechless, কাশেম ভাই, খুব ভালো লাগছে। আর গৌরব দা, আপনার বাজনায় তো চারিদিক আলোকিত হচ্ছেই, তবে আপনি একটু যদি আপনার ঘরের আলোটা একটু জ্বালেন তাহলে আপনাকে আরো ভালো করে দেখতে পারবো।
আসলে ঘরের আলোটাই, আমাদের সব আলো জ্বলছে, বাট আনফরচুনেটলি আলোগুলো এমন লাগানো that এটা আমার আগেরও একটু লকডাউনটা খুলুক, I'll get some lights, but এখনকার জন্য Alan, can you put some from a phone or something?
না, এখন মানে একটু আলো থাকলে এমনিতে ন্যাচারালি থাকলে বেটার, কিন্তু গৌরবদা এমনিতে যদি ন্যাচারালি না হয় তাহলে উই ক্যান ইগনোর।
এটা থেকে
আপনার আপনার সঙ্গীতের আলো সোহনা যেমন বললেন, সঙ্গীতের আলো কিন্তু
এটাতেই ম্যানেজ করি।
একদম let
That's
us
absolutely fine.
so one thing that perhaps all of the audiences want to know, especially those who are from Western background. You learn from and you have, I assume, so much memories with Pandit Ravi Shankar ji, and especially the Western world. More interested into know perhaps or explore a bit more on your guru, Pandit Ravi Shankar ji. Is it possible to say few words on that, and perhaps you can cover some other gurus as well?
Few words is not possible. A lot of words is possible.
Yeah. Wow. Great. Yes.
Well, let me begin with my journey. I think that way we'll have some sort of
Exactly.
semblance, and I'll get an opportunity to speak about all my gurus.
Exactly.
I was born in Allahabad.
Yeah.
City in Uttar Pradesh, a very, very important city. The University of Allahabad has had a very, very, very important role to play in education, in arts, in politics. Most of our country's prime ministers have come from Allahabad, starting from Jawaharlal Nehru to Indira Gandhi, to you just name it. Scholars and poets and musicians. Allahabad has been very, very, very cultural and very important. And I come from a family of musicians. My father, Dulal Mazumdar, my cousins, Srimati Kamala Bose and Jayashri Roy, my eldest uncle, J.D. Mazumdar, they were all my initial gurus. From whom I started to learn from a very, very young age to sing. I sang for many, many, many years, and I still sing, I still compose, I'm very, very grateful that I learned singing, because that's what gets you the expression in whatever you do musically. And then later, when I was a little older, my father put me on to learn the violin, which I played for a long time, 12 years. And my father's guru, Pandit Nandakishore Vishwakarma ji, a very learned gentleman, he became my guru. And he learned from the great Pandit Bholanath Bhatt ji and Pandit Kashalkar ji of the Rampur Gharana and the Gwalior Gharana. And it's because of him that I really was introduced into the depth of music. Depth of Indian classical music, because before that, for me, it was a combination of notes, sargams, aro avro, bandishes. But I really, after meeting him and coming close to him, I realized that there is a spiritual journey which one needs to take through this music. You need to go deep into the sa, you need to go deep into the shrutis, the microtones of our music. You need to go deep into the essence of the rag, which is to be played at a certain time, and at that time it gives the maximum amount of effect. And it was amazing that he would consider himself a student all his life, and he seldom or rarely taught. He always thought that no, I am not yet ready to teach. But when it came to me, he was so ready, and he taught me, and he gave me so much. Around 1985, my guru Pandit Ravi Shankar ji was visiting Allahabad for a concert. It was a concert organized by my uncle Shri Nalin Mazumdar ji. He was a pioneer in terms of introducing classical music on the slide guitar. And his school and his organization Shankar was celebrating Silver Jubilee, and Guruji had come to Allahabad to perform, and that's when he heard me play the violin for the first time. and he spent almost hour and a half listening to a morning Rag Bhairav, which I had planned for him, and he heard, and then he invited me the next year to come to Delhi and be part of his Gurukul. He had a home here in Delhi, and he was spending quite a lot of time, because that time he was member of the Rajya Sabha, and he was spending really quite a long span of the year he would be in India. And he had a chosen few disciples who were living with him, staying with him. And that's how I moved in 1986 to stay with him, continuing my music on the sitar, on the violin. I was not playing the sitar at all, I was playing the violin. I moved to Delhi and started staying with him. And only after about a year did I realize my strong relation, connection, and love for sitar after being with him. And that's when, after playing violin for about 12 years, performing, I was already performing for the radio, did I go and approach him to go into learning the sitar, because I realized sitar is my instrument, it's my medium of expression, and I have to play this instrument if I want to continue being a musician, and which I wanted to do. I was very sure I wanted to do music. So it was then that my Guru Pandit Ravi Shankar ji put me on the sitar. I didn't have a sitar, I didn't have this mijrab, this plectrum with which we play. And it was so kind and so generous of him to give me his sitar, give me his mijrab, and start my journey on the sitar. And that's how it all started. In 86, I had the Ganda Bandhan ceremony. And let me just check here. I think, Alan, can you come here and see if my Facebook is open here? And I want you to switch that off because the sound is coming. Can you minimize it? So, no. So, and 86, 80 to 87, I played on the violin. But then 87 onwards, I came on the sitar, and I'm so happy. I'm so grateful that I was able to come into the realm of this music and play the sitar and have this as my medium of expression.
Any specific memory you have, Gaurav? You are one of those fortunate that you
and I stayed with him for 7 years in his house, 7 years with him. And also after I moved out and started performing, traveling, I still continued my relationship and my learning from him. And I was lucky to be with him till the time he was here with us. And then he moved for his next journey.
Yeah.
There are lots of memories. You all are in London. London is such a wonderful, it's a city I really love. And I have spent a lot of quality time with my guru there. And one of the incidents was that after a talim, he would always want a good lunch, especially if it is a Bengali meal. He was always very happy, and his wife was always very meticulous, and she always made sure that there was good food for us. But one day he just mentioned that, he said, this trip, and he knew my fascination also for Bengali food or food in general. And it says, this trip of yours, have you had fish and chips? So I said, no, but this trip I didn't. He says, let me see. After our talim, maybe we can go to Central London and we can have. So we go down to, after the lesson, to Central London, and we go into a fish and chips place. And he stands in the queue and he orders 2 fish and chips, and we sit and have fish and chips and enjoy and talk. So, and there are so many memories going to movies with him, watching movies at home. I mean, to tell you the truth, life beyond Allahabad he was really instrumental in me discovering so many things. He introduced me to Charlie Chaplin. He introduced, and after I really got into Charlie Chaplin, he says, well, now that you have seen City Lights, you have seen Limelight, you have seen Great Dictator, let me introduce you to the person where it all came from. And he introduced me to Buster Keaton.
Ooh,
You
wow.
know, so such was his. I mean, we went to see Devdas in Delhi, the Shah Rukh Khan Devdas, and we went to the theater. And he comes back and he says, nice, very nice. I'm really touched, very nice. And of course, such a great story by Sharad Babu, you know. It never fails to touch you. It never fails to impress. Such a brilliant story. But let me sing for you the song from the original Devdas by Pramotesh Borua. And he started singing the compositions. I think Pramotesh Borua's Devdas was released sometime in the 30s. He must be in his early teens or late teens or mid-teens. And he remembered. I mean, there are so many things when it came to and his memory. Even in December 2012, when he left all of us, just a month before I went to spend time with him, his mind was 200%. His memory, he remembered everything. You ask him, he was like that. It was not that a 92-year-old who's forgetting things. And he was alert, he was there, and he was still practicing every day. Twice a day, he was frail. He had to be given oxygen through his nose to breathe properly. But still, he was practicing every day, twice a day. So there have been, I can go on talking for days and weeks and years about him, and the stories will not finish.
Many thanks, Gaurav. Before we move on to the next performance, actually, I personally would like to request, what are you playing next? And also, any special advice when in musicians' life, number of times depression comes, a sense of meaninglessness comes. And did you find any special advice from Ravi Shankarji that helps you tremendously and gives you a constant source of inspiration?
Well, his life was an inspiration, Dada. His life was such an inspiration. To tell you the truth, I have never seen him idle around. I've never seen him lying and saying, oh, today I don't feel like doing anything. And he's lazing around. He was always doing something. He was reading, he was writing, he was playing music, he was teaching, he was composing. If not, he would say, let's go out, let's go to the market. He would go and he says, let's go and have something in the market. What do you want to have? Or let's go for a drive and we buy sweets. There is no sweets at home. There would be tons of sweets, but still for him, he says, let's go and buy some more. So there was always, his life was such an inspiration that even though sometimes I feel, I don't want to say that I'm tired. I don't want to say that I'm feeling lazy today. I don't want to say there's nothing to do. I want to make sure that there's always a lot to do. And I feel always that there's less time and a lot to do. That's the feeling he gave us. And I always want to feel that way. That's a great lesson from a great guru.
Exactly.
If you read his biography by this one,
Ragunurag
was not really his autobiography. Ragunurag was his experiences.
Exactly. My musical life, perhaps. You're talking about My Musical Life?
No. His Raganurag, since you said it was in Bengali, it was as a Dharavahik serial which was coming in Anandabajar Putrika as told to somebody. Then My Music, My Life was more about his journey till end 60s, early 70s, and mainly speaking about his guru and his heritage and the instruments and about the music. And with a great manual on playing the sitar. It's a great book. And then later he came out with Ragmala, which was his autobiography, of course. But this year marks his centenary. And because of that, Oliver Krask, a wonderful gentleman who has done outstanding research on this man. And he has come out with a book which is close to, I think, 650 pages, huge book.
What's the book called?
It's called the Ravi Shankar, the son. Find that thing on my thing. the Indian Sun, Ravi Shankar, the Indian Sun.
Indian Sun,
The
yes.
life and music of Ravi Shankar. It's a great, it's just come out, released in England. We were supposed to, be at the release function on the 2nd of April at the South Bank Center. And I was supposed to perform at the Royal Festival Hall on 7th with Anushka and a lot of other disciples celebrating 7th April as his 100th year. But it all got postponed, luckily. It will all. So the book was released in England and in America. And it's going to come in India very soon. And also it's on Kindle. So when you read that book and you all of a sudden realize, oh my God. I mean, there were times he would go to America for 42 days and play 39 concerts. He would come back to India for 56 days and play 60 concerts. And in between those concerts, he's teaching, he's doing music for Shotajit Babu, or he's doing music for somebody else, or he's doing music for Shambhu Mitra's theater. So much. It's just so prolific. It's so much that I remember Oliver, when he came, he thought it would be his last time. So he came to the archive in Delhi at the Rimpa, where I also teach. And he says, okay, this is it. This is the time I'm going to go through everything. And after this, I'll have all the material. And I remember one day after about 7-8 days, he's sitting in the archive and he looked at me. He says, one lifetime is not enough to go through all his documents. So I have to practically put a full stop at some point and say, okay, this is it. This is it, what I'm going to cover. And let's see where we go from there.
Exactly.
So such a life, and for me to be so lucky, and for him to be so generous to share his life, his music, everything. So to say that, come and stay with me. How generous, how great. I cannot be grateful enough, and I thank God for bringing me to my Guru, Pandit Ravi Shankar ji. So as we had a request from Shahana Banerjee, a wonderful sitar player, daughter of Pandit Santosh Banerjee, who learned from Dabir Khan Sahab. Dabir Khan Sahab was the grandson of Ustad Wazir Khan Sahab.
Exactly.
Now, if I go back a little bit in history, Mia Tansen, who's supposed to be one of the greatest musicians, from where the lineage of all the gharanas come today. Tansen's lineage was one from his sons, the Rababiyas, and from his daughter Saraswati, the Beenkars. From his son's side, Bilas Khan, and from his daughter's side, Saraswati, and the person he married, Misri Singh, who later became Naubat Khan, the great Beenkar. So from that lineage coming on to Wazir Khan Sahab, who was the guru of my guru's guru, Baba Ustad Alauddin Khan Sahab. So that's why we are called the Beenkar Gharana, the Gharana of the Senia Gharana of Mia Tansen. And then later, because of Baba's teaching and Baba's knowledge and Baba's accumulation of knowledge and music from different gharanas, because he learned from so many people, and finally reaching Wazir Khan Sahab, that Mahir came to be known as a separate gharana of the Senias, the Beenkars, the people from Rampur, because Mahir became so prolific, and especially after Baba's performances, and then later you talk of Guruji, Pandit Ravi Shankar ji, Ustad Ali Akbar Khan Sahab, and you talk of B.G. Jog, you talk of Pannalal Ghosh ji, you talk of Nikhil Banerjee, you talk of Baba, whoever he put his hand on, they all became such wonderful musicians, including film. If you go see the film industry, music directors like Roshan, music directors like S.D. Burman, music directors like R.D. Burman, singer Asha Bhosle, they all have had connections, and they have learned from either Baba Alauddin Khan Sahab or his son Ustad Ali Akbar Khan Sahab or my Guru Pandit Ravi Shankar ji, and has had such a great influence. So Shahana's father, Pandit Santosh Banerjee, he learned from Dabir Khan Sahab, who was the last living lineage of from Tansen's daughter's side. So he was Ustad Dabir Khan Sahab was the grandson of Wazir Khan Sahab, and Shahana's father learned directly from Dabir Khan Sahab. So, and Shahana has requested me to play Tilak Sham. Tilak Sham is a creation of my guru,
Wow.
Guruji created this rag in 1948 when he was only 28 years old. It's a combination of two different rags, Sham Kalyan and Tilak Kamod. Two very traditional rags. And I'm going to play that for all of you if you are okay with that.
Please do.
And if you want me to play a little bit of Rag Tilak Sham, a creation of my Guru, Pandit Ravi Shankar ji. Thank you.
Thank you. Ah.
Thank you.
Many thanks.
Thank you, Dada.
Many thanks. How
My
beautiful!
pleasure.
How beautiful is this? Can we listen a bit from poetry, Jasmine, just to complement this music?
This is the English translation of Choddo Shal, Rabindranath Thakurer. 100 years hence. 100 years hence, who it is with such curiosity reads my poems. 100 years hence, shall I be able to send you an iota of joy in this fresh spring morning? The flower that blooms today, the songs that the birds sing, the glow of today's setting sun, filled with my feelings of love. Yet for a moment, open up your southern gate and take your seat at the window. Look at the far horizon and visualize in your mind's eye, one day 100 years ago, a restless ecstasy drifted from the skies and touched the heart of this world. The early spring, mad with joy, knew no bounds. Spreading its restless wings, the southern breeze blew, carrying the scent of flowers' pollen. All on a sudden soon, they colored the world with a youthful glow. 100 years ago, that day a young poet kept awake, with an excited heart filled with songs, with so much ardor, anxious to express so many things. Like birds of flowers straining to bloom, one day 100 years ago. 100 years hence, what young poets sing songs in your homes? For him, I send my tiding of joy of the spring. Let it echo for a moment in your spring, in your heartbeats, in the humming of the bees, in the rusting of the leaves, 100 years hence. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Many thanks, Jasmine. Shubhana, looks like you were trying to say.
I was completely speechless. Dada, আপনাকে একটা question জিজ্ঞেস করতে চাই. After playing violin for 12 years, then you have moved to another string instruments. So do you still play violin sometime? You know, do you miss playing violin?
I don't. To tell you the truth, I'll be honest, I don't miss the violin. I work with a lot of violin players, both from East and West, and also I teach violin. I have students who play the violin, but I have never, since that day when I picked up the sitar, I have never picked up the violin, and I have never played the violin, and I don't miss it also.
So from that, we can imagine Ravi Shankar's, you know, what an aura he had and what a lasting impression he had on you.
Yes. I mean, to me and to everyone he came in contact with, he has left such a everlasting, legacy and aura. We still feel him. We still, talk to him. We feel him teaching us and being all around us.
I have seen him perform live a couple of times, so that is my, treasure.
Yes. It was.
Well, thank you, Gaurav. I'm just waiting to say something really, as you said, the meaninglessness, what you feel really. Sometimes I also feel that. I mean, my imagination is that when we want to do so many things in life and we ended up doing nothing really, that also gives some such type of imagination. It's because we want to do so many good things in our life, but we fail to do that. And about Gaurav, it's really amazing. It's a pleasure, absolute pleasure of us, I say, that you had such beautiful illustrated background and memories with so many great musicians in life. And we are really happy and privileged to, share the same platform today with you. It's a great pleasure, really. Thank you. We are really greatly enjoying. Of course, the audience, of course, I can see there's some feedbacks. They're enjoying as well. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitul. Could you be able to read some audience's feedback, please?
Sure. Shahana Banerjee ji has written, thanks a lot. Amira,
Shahana Banerjee was featured as part of this concert, and she was also talking about the gharanas that you aided, Gaurav, and rightly said, the Veer Khanjis, and then Senia Gharana, she managed to explain, and she also performed so beautifully as
She's
part
a
of
brilliant sitar player.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
really like
Thank you, thank you. Go on, Vito, please.
then Amira Devora has written, Gauravji, you were a most important part of my memories of staying with Guruji in Delhi. All the best to you.
Many thanks, many thanks for watching. Great.
Kazi Zawad, interesting anecdotes, Gauravji. Thank you so much for telling us some. Hope you will write all these one day.
Many thanks, Jawad Bhai. Jawad Bhai is a friend of ours, a BBC journalist, and also a connoisseur of art and music. Many thanks for watching, Jawad Bhai.
Then Shonit Gupta, superb to know all about so many great stories. Shamim Chaudhary, thank you, Shaudha, and Namaskar, Gauravji.
Thank you very
That's all.
much. Those who left feedback.
Shamim is a disciple of mine. She's from Bangladesh.
Right.
And she lives in Chicago currently.
Wow.
And she's a doctor by profession. And a
Many
wonderful.
thanks. Please do share and let others have the opportunity of.
And Shonit is a neighbor. I think he is listening to me play live because he just stays across. So he can hear me, and he's a very dear neighbor and a friend.
Many thanks. Please do share.
Amira is from Philadelphia, and she's a wonderful painter and an artist.
So, Gaurav, this is a very wonderful anecdote that you described. Ravi Shankarji, such an affectionate man, according to your memories, such an affectionate man. And on top, he was just tirelessly hardworking man as well, according to what you said. And then the spectrum of the works that he did is very interesting. He was doing compositions, music compositions for perhaps a cinema, a theater, and also solo performances, writing, whatnot.
Teaching was very important part of his life from the beginning. He always had disciples, and he has created such a rich legacy when it comes to, because that's something very unique to the Maihar Gharana. Baba Alam Khan Sahab struggled so much to gain knowledge. He would sleep on the steps of temples and on the footpath, drinking just water, no food, just because he wanted to learn and be close to his guru. He struggled so much. 45 years he spent. And then when he learned so much, he made sure that he was in one place, which is Maihar, and the Maharaja of Maihar patronized him. And Baba taught freely to whoever wanted to learn. And the same was continued by my guru, Pandit Ravi Shankarji, Ali Akbar Khan Sahab. And that's why such a rich legacy. And I would like to share, if I may, a beautiful story here.
Yeah, so that was my next question, Gaurav. This is
just
also
one small story. This is when Baba finally moved out of Rampur, and he came to Maihar. The Maharaja of Maihar became Baba's disciple, and he says, Baba, whatever you need, I'll give you. You stay here. And Baba, so much he did. There was this huge famine, and because of that, there was a lot of people who were dead. Baba took some orphans and taught them, who had no background of music, no background. He taught them, and he formed one of the first orchestra of India called the Maihar Band. And this is around maybe sometime around 1912, 15, 20, something like that, so early. And then this story which I want to share is such a touching story. Wazir Khan Sahab, who initially was really, because if you go back, most of the musicians, they were not really very generous, and they would not share their knowledge with anybody outside the family. They would teach their own children. And so similarly, Baba had lot of problems initially, but finally when Wazir Khan Sahab realized that Baba is absolutely passionate and he has this burning zeal and desire to learn music, when he finally found out, he realized what a mistake he had done. So he told Baba, from today, I am going to teach you everything. You're like a son. I'm going to teach you everything I know. And he taught Baba for many, many years. And during, when Wazir Khan Sahab finally was in his deathbed, Baba was in Maihar. And the Maharaja got a call, and Baba rushed to his Guru's side. And from his dying bed, he blessed, he gave Ashirwad to Ustad Alauddin Khan Sahab that his nickname was Alam. He says, Alam, as long as there is the sun and the moon, your name and your disciples and their disciples, their name will always be there in this world. I bless you.
Wow. Wow.
You know, it's blessing what makes you do whatever you want. My Guru always said that take people's blessings, whoever it is, take people's blessings, because that's the biggest wealth one can have.
Exactly. 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 So one thing you rightly said, that is what we were interested in to find out. You came from a gharana, the world's mostly known gharana, known lineage of music, the gharana that gave the whole world at least three, the best musicians, the finest musicians of the world. Ali Akbar Khanji, Ravi Shankar ji, Nikhil Banerjee ji, three best, finest musicians, not just.
I would like to add the name of Pannalal Ghosh ji.
Exactly.
I would like to add the name of Sharan Rani ji.
True.
Ustad Ashish Khan Sahab.
Yeah.
So many.
Exactly.
Many. Music director Sachin Dev Burman.
True.
Roshan. I mean, Prithvi Raj Kapoor's father, went all the way to Maihar to go and be in the presence of Baba's music. Baba had and this is so amazing that whoever has come in contact with them, even for a short time, they have gone back being a little more musical than they were before.
Exactly. The reasons, Gaurav, the reasons I said three finest only because in Western world, they count these three as the finest musicians of 20th century. 20th century. Not just.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it was my Guru Pandit Ravi Shankar ji who made Maihar, Baba the Gharana, everything so global and took it to the every remotest corner. I mean, today when I travel, be it immigration, be it a porter at the airport or a station abroad, or be at wherever. I was traveling once, I remember, in a very small remote place called Segovia in Spain. This was not even Segovia, it was outside Segovia in a small village. And I had forgotten something very important at home here, and my wife had couriered it to me. And the courier came to this village, the courier man came, and when it came, the host who I was staying with, Spanish people, they opened the door. And I was practicing in the inside room. They couldn't even see me. So this courier man, a Spanish guy in a village, he asked the lady, he said, "What instrument is that? Who's playing that?" So that lady said, "Well, you would not know. This is an Indian musician. He plays the sitar." So he said, "Of course I know. Can I please meet?" So he was brought in and he says, "I have just one album, and that is of Pandit Ravi Shankar. Of course I know the sitar."
Exactly.
The taxi driver, I remember driving from New York to, I was going somewhere, and this taxi driver, he was from Africa. His roots were African, and he saw my sitar because I always keep my suitcase and all in the boot, but sitar I keep on my lap. So he looked at it. He says, "That looks like a sitar." So I says, "Yes, it is. How do you know that?" He says, "Yes, of course. I have heard Ravi Shankar. I've heard him in a concert at the Carnegie Hall."
Exactly. So this is true. Whatever Ravi Shankar ji was a true ambassador.
He was an angel. He was an angel who brought our music to a pedestal. He told the world that this is not an ethnic music. This is not folk music. This is classical music, like any other classical music, Western music played when you play Bach and Mozart and Beethoven.
Exactly.
This music is of that stature and of that quality, and he made, and it's not that he was bossing around. No, he made people understand. He explained
Exactly.
tirelessly. He
Yeah.
came to the universities, the schools, the colleges. When he performed initially, he explained the rags and the tals, and he did it so well that people started to identify and started to relate and started missing Indian music, and they said, no, we want to go to an Indian concert. And we all, later generation people, including the generation of his generation musicians as well, they were lucky because he opened the doors and they could walk in freely and experience the, you know, the fruits of
Exactly.
his hard work and his brilliance and his genius.
So Gaurav, what are you planning to play next? And after you play, I also would like to know about more about your Gharana, because this Gharana at least gave the whole world three the finest musicians of 20th century. So perhaps the people who are not from Asian background or Bengali background, they perhaps want to know a bit more on your Gharana. So if you kindly play something now, and then we
There's
will.
something, you know, there is two very beautiful rags. Like I played a creation of my guru,
Right.
Lakshyam. I would like to, in quick succession, I'm going to play two rags which are creation of Baba Alauddin Khasa.
Wow.
Very
Wow.
beautiful.
Great
He
is this.
called one, this is little off season, but doesn't matter. There is one which is called Hemant, creation of Baba Alauddin Khasa. And a beautiful combination of Hemant and Bihag, Baba called it Hem Bihag.
Right.
Very beautiful. So I'm going to play these two rags for all of you,
Great.
just to connect the dots. What a creative, wonderful musician Baba was,
Fantastic.
and just to share it with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Reading from Allama Iqbal, reading the first two lines in Urdu and then the rest in English. दायरे इश्क में अपना मकाम पैदा कर, दायरे इश्क में अपना मकाम पैदा कर, नया ज़माना, नया सुबह शाम पैदा कर. Create a place for thyself in the realm of love. Create a new age, new days and nights. If God grants you heart of sensing nature, if God grants you heart of sensing nature, create word from the silence of tulips and rose. My way is not in wealth, but in poverty. My way is not in wealth, but in poverty. Do not sell selfhood, our name in adversity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mitul. And Gaurav da, কথা ফুরিয়ে যাচ্ছে কিন্তু মানে কথা বলা যাবে না এরকমের বাজনার পরে কথা ফুরিয়ে যাচ্ছে কি বলবো বাংলা ভাষার যে বিশেষণ আছে বা ইংরেজি ভাষারও যে বিশেষণগুলো আছে এগুলোই বিশেষণগুলোই ব্যর্থ হয়ে যাচ্ছে এত সুন্দর বাজনার পরে কি বলবো বলেন তো how could you describe how deeply you I mean we all are immersed and you take us to a surrealistic tapestry, surrealistic field. এটা বোঝানোর জন্য
It's all my guru's blessings. That's all I'll say.
Soulful silence, যাকে বলে, soulful silence.
একদম 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 ওই দুটো শাহানা ব্যানার্জি সেদিন কথা বলতে বলতে বলছিলেন যে two types of music, one is skillful and one is soulful. Soulful টা always transcendental because you can't play soulful music unless you are skilled one. So soulful combines both skillful and soulful. So that you portrayed a beautiful soulful music, to be honest. Mitul, is it possible to read some audience's feedback? Then
Yes, sure. Shanjoy Day has written, I'm enjoying as well, Gauravji. I'm so fortunate that I met Panditji in Delhi, along with Nora Jones and Anushkaji. And now listening to your sitar and the informations, stories and everything is really enchanting. My regards to you.
Thank you.
so they is a friend of us and also quite regular panel member, an acclaimed Tagore singer as well. So many thanks for watching. I would be happy if you could come as well, but never mind. Many thanks for watching. And is there any other feedback that you'd like to add?
Pradeep Kumar Shankar, wow, great. Me and Shabnam watching.
Wow.
Ashok Ghosh, thank you, Saudha, for giving us the opportunity to be part of this beautiful session performed by Gaurav.
Ashok da, many thanks for watching. Please share it. Please share it and let others also have this similar feeling.
Then Hindal Mukherjee has requested one to hear more compositions of Panditji like Jogeshwari.
Wow, Jageshwari, fantastic.
Thank you.
That could be the next one, perhaps, Gauravji. Well, another thing, Gaurav, that I would like to ask. This is kind of, we are moving to a bit deeper. Perhaps we need to move to a bit deeper to explore some profound things from you, actually. So, you watched with Panditji a great film, Limelight. Limelight is all about the artist as well, artist life and artist depression. And perhaps all artists go to that stage where when the sun is at the middle, you are at the height of the fame, and everyone has to go to a stage where sun is setting. And this is perhaps a great challenge for artists to deal with the fact that sun is setting. You have to uh, give others, the young artists, their places, and you have to move away. How and that actually depresses so many artists. So many artists committed suicide because they couldn't deal with the fact that he has to go to that stage or she has to go to that stage. How would you find, because you have seen so many great artists as well, when the sun is setting, or would you have any personal story of depression, or if you feel a great story of profound sorrow that inspires you to music, or whenever you do music, you think about that memory? Have you got any personal story of sorrows or pains that uh, you you are happy to share with our audiences?
I have been lucky to witness mostly musicians who took this music as a passion, as a spiritual path. And when you are so passionate about music, when you are so spiritual, when you are so deep within, I don't think there is any room for depression and to feel that my sun is setting. Not really. I mean, in terms of my guru, to tell you the truth, till the end, he was at the peak.
Yes, yeah, musicians, perhaps musicians' journeys, perhaps.
Classical musicians, there is no really, when you talk of peak or no, I mean, you hear a musician at age 10, he will give you some sort of pleasure. At 20, that same musician will give you something else. You hear the same musician when he or she is 90, the music changes according to your journey, according to your experience, and it's all about that. And it's not about, am I able to play so fast as I was playing when I was 40 years old, or am I able to travel 60 places within a span of 1 month? No, it's about being happy with your life. And all my gurus, they were very happy because they were very generous. They gave everything they had to their disciples. My guru created such wonderful disciples all his life,
True.
all his life until the very end. I mean, look at Anushka Shankar today, my guru's wonderful daughter. She
Exactly.
is so talented, of course, but at the same time, she has had hours and hours and hours at the feet of Guruji, learning this music and this art, and she's taken up this music full time and so seriously, and she's taken it to a different level. And so all the other disciples who learned from him, they're all today performing, they're teaching, they're composing, they're traveling, they're all doing well. So when you have a life like that, there is no really room for
Depression or sadness. But for yourself, Gaurav, is there any story of sorrowness or sadness or perhaps pleasure that has shaped your music tremendously?
yeah, the pain in my fingers when I play. Yes. And that nobody can take away. I've spoken to many people. Just when I wear the mijrab, you see the mijrab, it holds so tight.
Mhm,
It's beautiful. When I play through my fingers,
mhm,
but there's such a pleasure in this pain.
mhm.
So even if somebody said, I'll take away all that pain and show you a way to play it without, I don't want it. There is pain and it's beautiful. And what is music without any sort of pain or sorrow or some sort of melancholic feeling? Music should should be channelized through a certain amount of sorrow and pain and hardship. That's when it has that effect that it can touch people and make people cry and make people happy and make people, so it's important. It's musicians, they feel more than others, of course, because we are sensitive people. We are people who feel with something very little we can get upset or we can get, but then that's who we are. And without that, we won't have that extra sense of feeling everything and then expressing through our music and through our art form, writing poetry or writing compositions or writing whatever. So it's part of life. It's part of life.
True. Shubhana, yes, please go on.
Yeah,
Please
can
go
I
on.
add something? I think from a musician's point of view, I mean, when you decide to become a musician or a performer, এইসব জিনিস আগে থেকে ভেবেই হয়তো সেই ডিসিশনটা নেওয়া হয়, because every day it's not going to be the same and the goalpost, I think, keeps on changing. If you can't change your goalpost with your age or with your capability, then I think the depression and mental problem comes. But you have got your music, and if you know your limitation, and I think Guruji Ravi Shankar knew it, 92 years obdi uni bajiye gechen and he was at the peak.
Almost 93. He was in few months he would be 93 years.
Exactly. I don't think he performed like that when he was very young. He was doing world tour. He came to know that, okay, I have to consider my age too and know my limitation, and then also he was at the top. So that's the thing you have to know.
Doctors strictly had told him you cannot play more than 45 minutes. He goes on stage and he forgets everything. The doctor is waiting in the wings just in case anything, and he plays for 2.5-3 hours, and later he had to give an oxygen. But when you're on stage, that's who you are really. That's why he was born. So you give your best. Then you don't think of and my guru in Allahabad, Nandkishorji, I remember very well when I was and these things really took a deep root in me, that he said, never worry about that. All this people say, oh, where will the food come from, and the insecurities of life, and if you become a musician, it's going to be insecure life. He says, you love music, don't you? I said, yeah. He says, just do it. Rest, leave it. It's not your job to worry about it. It will all happen. Like there is a famous saying. It's a little humorous, but Ghalib, the great Urdu poet, great poet, why just Urdu? He wrote so much in Farsi as well. So Ghalib was always hand to mouth. He was always struggling, and he was still writing the best. And so poetry, people had such difficulty understanding. So once he went to a mushaira and he got some money. When he was coming back, those days you didn't have cars and all that. So in the back of a horse or whatever, he with all that money he bought all his drinks. So when he was coming home, as he neared, one of his neighbors, he saw that his thing was full of liquor. So they asked him that, man, there's no food at home. You're not worried about that, and you're but he says, look, God has made promise that I'll feed you. He's not made a promise for the drinks. So I've taken care of the drinks. Now for the food, he'll let him worry about it and take care.
True.
So I'm not saying you do that, but what I'm saying is that you have a certain sense of surrendering. I do my music, rest will be okay. And that's not just in saying. I had this belief. I knew by the time I was 14, 15, even though I went to a very good school, my father sent me to a very good school. I was a good student of science, but I knew I wanted to do music. I didn't know where it will go. That time I didn't know I'll come to Delhi, I'll meet Pandit Ravi Shankar ji, I'll stay with him, nothing. But I knew this is what I want to do. How will shape up, I don't know, but I'll do music, which makes me so happy. And that's exactly what I've done till now. I have faced hardship, yes, of course. There has been days.
Gaurav, but perhaps there is a kind of misunderstanding what I have asked. When I said depression, this is a, I mean, even Tagore, not, I mean, not in a clinical term, depression. I was trying to say something, perhaps in a profound sense. Tagore even wanted to commit suicide twice, at least from a very authentic biography.
It happened to my guru also. My guru also.
Yeah, and when you read Ravi Shankarji's personal autobiography, you will see certain dissatisfaction, certain vacuum, certain emptiness always chases him, and that perhaps he has changed his goal, because according to him, he couldn't shape the music the way he wanted to do. It is a bliss for us. It is a heaven for us. But if you read his personal journey, that is something I was trying to indicate, that
people have gone through that. I mean, read Chaplin's life. Chaplin
exactly
has eaten from the dustbins.
Yeah.
Chaplin has seen poverty like nobody else.
Even not about hardship. I was thinking about hardship is one thing. Hardship is one.
I'm joining the two dots.
Exactly.
Because when you see the life of, say, Tagore or Guruji or Chaplin,
even Mirza Ghalib, one sense he was suffering from hardship, but another spiritual crisis that provokes him to.
That is always there. That is always there, and I go through crisis like this. I can speak.
That's what I'm. Yeah, that's what I'm.
I go, but not to the extent that I think of committing suicide or things like that.
No. That's
But I go through crisis where I feel I'm trying to play something and it's not happening.
Mm-hmm.
As if I'm trying to invite something. A raga is a living being. So it's not that I pick up the sitar and want to play Yaman and Yaman says, yes, it's okay. You can play me today. No, the raga has to agree with you. So many a times I start with some rag and say, oh, it's not happening. Let me change it. And then I change. It's not happening. Let's do this. So you go through all sorts of, you go through crisis. I'm writing a music where I'm also writing the lyrics. And I'm trying to match not the words, but the sound of the words with the music I'm composing. And it's not happening. There is a crisis. All the time. But
or any profound love that inspires you?
And profound love which inspires you all the time, of course. Exactly. Of course, a person, you meet somebody and they hit you so hard that you reach absolute the bottom in terms of your feeling who you are. But also it triggers some sort of creativity within you that you start creating non-stop. Every day a composition comes where you don't know where it's coming from, but it's there, and you write and you save it, and it's happened to me. That has happened a lot to me, and I have, luckily I would put it down in my, sometimes if I'm traveling, so many times in the London tube, I've got nothing, I've got maybe a paper in my pocket, I write quickly. I've got a letter in my bag, at the back of that envelope I have written a composition. My diaries are full. My wife, every year on the 1st of January, she gifts me a diary to write, okay, tomorrow this is what needs to be done, 9 o'clock, call this person, 10 o'clock, going out to meet such and such. My diaries are full of notations and compositions and nothing of this engagements. So
can I add something here, Kashyap bhai? I think you were talking about Ravi Shankar, Chaplin, Mirza Ghalib. সেদিন গৌতম ঘোষের সঙ্গে আলোচনা হচ্ছিল, মনে আছে, সত্যজিৎ রে, he was talking about that how multitasker he was. So এইসব মানুষ কি শুধু সাধারণ মানুষ তো নয়, এরা মহাপুরুষ. So they were always very dissatisfied. They knew that they are brought into this world for a reason. So always they wanted to do more and more and more. এই জন্যই বোধহয় ওদের সবসময় একটা অতৃপ্ত বাসনা থেকে যাচ্ছিল, আরো করতে চাই, আরো করতে চাই. So I think because of that,
they have come with a limited time span.
Exactly.
End of his life, many a times he's told me also, I wish
I'm personally interested Gaurav, whether you have, I mean, we talked about others, but yeah, so that is well said. Well
I
said
do
about
all the
yourself.
time.
Yeah.
I feel all the time, I wish I could practice more. I wish I could teach more. I could travel more. I could perform more. I could record more. I
Mhm.
have so many of my compositions. If I start putting my compositions together, it's
Mhm.
hundreds and thousands. I want to record all of that. I want to teach all of that to my students so that it's there,
Yeah.
and people sing it and people. So there is always so much more. And that's why in the beginning of this show, I mentioned that this lockdown is a real blessing because I'm getting all of a sudden time for things I would not usually
Right.
have. And I'm able to do that. I'm able to teach really. I teach regularly. That's something very serious for me. I teach
Wow.
wherever in the world I am, I teach. But now I'm doing it even more. I'm composing more every day, two or three new songs, two or three new more compositions. So, and I'm putting them all together. Hopefully, I would record them soon. I would put them in a book. I would put it all together. It's all a process, and you do what you can, and then what you can't, it's okay. Your disciples will continue and they'll come later.
Exactly.
So life
Legacy.
is a
That's how the
continuity.
legacy
It
will be.
doesn't finish with a person just leaving this world. It continues. It goes on. It goes on.
So next, obviously, that is the next part. I personally would like to explore your own composition. But in the meantime, Gaurav, what are you trying to play for our audience?
What do you want to listen? I mean, it helps me if you have anything in mind you want to listen to. Any
Let's do some light thingy based on Kafi perhaps or Hamaj perhaps.
Okay, okay. So I will play a little Khamaj, and I will play this beautiful prayer, Vaishnav Janato.
Great, fantastic. Gaurav, uh, Gaurav, uh,
Thank you.
Daffodils by William Wordsworth. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering the dancing in the breeze, continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way. They stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. Then thousand saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in springy dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a joke and company. I gazed and little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft, when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasures filled and dances with me daffodils. Thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Jasmine. And thanks, Gaurav, again. Another thing that I would like to ask you, Gaurav, this is, I always look forward uh, for a musician's journey that goes beyond the boundary. So Ravi Shankar ji, if he was just a traditional sitar player, the beauty of our Hindustani classical music won't be reached in the West. And he always crosses the boundary in such a huge way. And that is something that I found in yourself, especially at this time, those who are carrying the flag of Hindustani classical music in the West. You are a mentionable musician, a remarkable musician who is doing such a meaningful jobs to cross the boundary and connect as many audiences as possible through beautiful collaboration that I was interested in to know. You did a music composition, perhaps for a great ballet production based on Hermann Hesse's. Hermann Hesse is one of my favorite writer, favorite novelist, a great novelist. I read his uh, Confession of Crooks, a beautiful philosophical novel that was also translated in Bengali by Manavendra Bandyopadhyay. And then he wrote a wonderful spiritual, philosophical piece of work, which is Siddharth. And you did the composition for that wonderful novel. Perhaps the production was done, and you engaged yourself in so many meaningful operas, which that personally I'm interested in. And I was just I was trying to tell you that I was trying to do an Indian adaptation of Thomas Mann, another Nobel laureate from German literature, uh, Death of Venice. That is also a spiritual novel. I'm not sure whether you read or audiences perhaps read Heinrich Böll, another German novelist, and his ballad at the half past nine, which is another masterpiece. So could you tell us a bit more on this? And also, I personally would like to share the 2 or 3 adaptations that this could be interpreted through Hindustani classical music actually. And I would share perhaps sometime after this COVID is gone, I will share with you that is a work that I would like to do in next year. Thomas Mann and Heinrich Böll, but you did already Hermann Hesse, another great novelist of 20th century. And Siddhartha is such a spiritual piece of work that is also translated in Bengali as well. So if you kindly share your experience of doing this meaningful collaboration, experimental job that expanding, that is constantly expanding the boundary of Indian classical music?
I have always, basically my compositions, it comes out of my experiences. As you all know, Hermann Hesse was a German who moved to Switzerland, and he lived in the southern part of Switzerland called Ticino, bordering Italy. And I have traveled quite a lot in Europe, in Germany, in Switzerland, in England. And through my travels in Switzerland, in southern Switzerland, I met Hesse's son, Hermann Hesse's son, Heiner Hesse.
Exactly.
And it was basically in a concert where the Hesse Museum in Montagnola, they had organized a concert, and there was another concert I was playing in Ascona, where Heiner Hesse's son came to listen to me. And in the intermission, I got to meet him. He was by then almost in his 80s. And I was introduced to him, and we spoke, and it seemed to be a very nice, quiet, but a nice gentleman. And it was him who first expressed, I remember, telling me, asking me, have I read Siddharth, his father's work? And I said, yes, I have read it, of course, and I have seen the film as well. And he said, you know, while you were playing the first half of the concert, I was really imagining if your music really feels that it was written for that book. If there's a play, or there is an opera, or if there is a production created around that story of my father, your music will work so well with that. Have you ever thought of composing music to that book? And I said, no, I have never thought, but now that you're mentioning it, let me read the book again, and we'll speak again. And that's where so he heard the second half, and he came after the second half, and he says, you know, I have to go home. It's time for me to go to bed and all that. So he left, and subsequent meetings, I would meet him. He would invite me to his home for supper or for tea, and we would have long discussions. And after the first meeting, I was flying to London. And I remember from Zurich, flying to Heathrow, the first place I went to was W.H. Smith. And these are days before much of internet or anything. So it was not possible to find out if W.H. Smith, Heathrow doesn't have Siddharth, if any other shop has. So I went, and they said, no, sorry, we don't have it. Try in central London, and he gave me some addresses. And I said, okay. So I came where I was staying, and next day, I found the book in a bookshop near Notting Hill Gate.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a thin book, as you know, it's not a
Exactly.
very... And by the time I had finished that day, I got the book around 1 o'clock. Part of the book, I already read it in the tube while I was returning home. And the rest, I finished it before I hit the bed that night. And I was really intrigued, because it's about Siddhartha, it's about Gautam Buddha, but it's really not about him.
No.
You know, and that's what caught me, because if it was about Buddha, a lot already has been said, a lot already. Why do I need to do another piece of work on that? Because if I'm doing music, it should be something new. If it should tell people something different. So I found it very interesting. So my next trips, we started discussing. And he was already into his early 90s. And I remember every trip he would say, you know, I'm tired. I said, every time I would ask, how are you? He says, I'm tired. You know, it's time to go. That's the feeling he gave me. And then one of the trips, I told him that I have started, when I was reading the book, there are a couple of pieces of music which came in my head. And I have started writing those music and started working. And he says, oh my God, you're making a music to that. Oh, now there is a reason to live. And I got such a inspiration seeing this beautiful, wonderful gentleman, elderly, who's saying, he will live on if I do this. So then I started really working hard on it. And within a span of a year, I created the whole thing with some dancers in London, some dancers, and started working on the choreographing, started working on the theme. And he was there. I'm so lucky that we did the premiere in a very big theater in Switzerland. And he came for the and he was very happy. He came on stage and he spoke and he gave me, and I have still, because I remember one of my first questions that, look, I have this book now. Now, do I need to write the Hesse Museum for permission? Do I need to write his son who was living in Germany? Because his daughter and son, they all became friends. Heiner Hesse's son, meaning grandchildren of Hesse. And he says, you don't need anybody's permission. I'm giving you permission. Oh, and then being a Westerner, he says, yes, of course, mere words will not do. He wrote a handwritten letter, which I still have. And he says, I give him full permission to work on this book and do what he wants to do. And it was produced, and it was such a success that we did it in so many places. And in Zurich, I still remember we ran it for 3 nights. All the nights were sold out.
Fantastic. How beautiful.
And I'm so happy I did it, because later on I got involved with some other projects in Germany by 2 very dear friends of mine, Angela and Richard. They thematic music, and they did an album on Hesse. And few tracks, they asked me to compose the music. And you have some big names there, some great actors who have spoken there, and they have given their input, and I have composed. So it was quite an experience.
It is definitely. It's such a groundbreaking experience, I should say, because that crosses the boundary. And also, Gaurav, is it available to watch by any chance? Is that production available to watch anywhere? I mean,
I have private recordings. It's not yet released, but I am working towards. I've been so busy that I have not had time to go to the studio, go to have a proper recording which can be released. But hopefully it will be there shortly, and you will be one of the first people to know.
Those who are watching and not familiar with Siddharth, please read it. Please, it's such a great masterpiece, and that will shape your experience in so meaningful ways. Especially at this time, it reminds me just 2 things. That when Govind asked Siddharth at one point that, what have you learned? Can you share? And then Siddharth says, every truth has a phase that it has another opposite truth as well. So both are equally true. So this is so important at this moment. We are focused on our things, and then we think what we believe is truth. And
truth is relative. And to explain people, Govinda was the very, very good friend of Siddharth. Very,
yes.
And it's almost like both of them, like they were mirror images.
Exactly.
So in Govind, Siddharth would see himself, and Govind would see in Siddhartha himself, and they would reflect. They would be like sounding board, and they would fight, and they would love, and they'll miss each other. And it's quite a story. The biggest thing what I took from that book was that every journey is unique. Anybody else's journey and life cannot be your life. Your life has to be your life. You need to walk it, and you need to make your experiences, and you need to do what is good for you, what is true for you, and what holds good for you. You cannot have a book which says do this, and that, and you reach here. No, that's no life. Life is where you take risk, you walk, you make your experiences, face challenges, and you reach your goal, which is your goal and not anybody else's goal.
Many thanks, Gaurav. This is groundbreaking, because you connected with, through your music, through your journey, you connected with a rich Western treasure that always admires in the Indian philosophy. If we can remember Schopenhauer, if we can remember Goethe, they were such a great admirer of Indian philosophy, especially Ved. They were such a great admirer of Upanishad, Ved, and Indian philosophy in general. And Herman Hesse is another one. And we are, as part of Saudha's experimental productions next year, we are planning to reproduce Thomas Mann's, another German writer, Nobel laureate, Death in Venice, and Heinrich Boll's Ballad of 9:30, Ballad of 9:30. So I personally would like to talk to you. Perhaps we can collaborate next year for this beautiful thing.
You're most welcome.
And this is a great journey that you have, connecting all those great treasure of world literature.
I have, Dada, to tell you the truth, I have never said no to anything. I remember a friend of mine who wasn't that time as close a friend, but we knew each other. Great modern dancer. Anne Moradian, she's based in Paris now, but she's from America. And I remember she coming to me a good 20-25 years back with a work of hers called Woman Bearing, also a poem by Tagore. And she wanted to interpret it in her style of modern dance. Now, here she comes to a classical Indian musician, and she's really worried that I'll say, no, are you out of your mind? How can Indian music fit into modern dance? But I said, yes. I said, of course. I said, give me the script. And we worked together. You will be surprised how well it came together. We performed all over India. We had such good reviews, and then we performed it in many other places outside India. And Woman Bearing is one of my first work I did in terms of collaboration with a modern dancer, Anne Moradian, and that came out so well.
Beautiful.
Similarly, with so many other genres, with Pepe Habituela, who's a very famous flamenco guitar player, and with dancers, and with poetry, and with you just name it, you know. And it's nice to extend. It's nice to push the boundaries. It's
Exactly.
Nice because what happens is you learn a lot in the process.
Exactly, Gaurav. That is something that I always say, or always want to see this journey in musicians. By traditional playing, you can do sort of many shows, perhaps many successful shows, but for someone to leave legacy, for someone to be remained centuries after centuries, they need to cross the boundaries, so that it became the treasure of the whole mankind, just not, you know, when you, exactly, yeah, please go on, sorry.
Very important. I have been doing this project called Building Bridges.
Yeah.
Between cultures and countries for the last 6 years. This will be the 7th year.
Exactly.
And every year we meet in a very historic place in Switzerland, where while the Second World War was on, the first treaty in basically secret, without Hitler knowing, was signed in this house between the Nazis and the Allies. It is in this house I meet every year with musicians from all over the world, and we create original. We live together for 2 weeks, and then we create original music. It's a place where it's a beautiful place, charged with, you know, nature and inspiration. And I have met musicians from Uzbekistan, from Syria, from Iran, from Switzerland, from France, from Germany, from all walks. And especially our idea is to bring people where they are having problems. There is a war, there is issues going on. And these people come and tell their stories, tell their sorrow. And then we sit and play music. And whatever comes out in those 2 weeks, we go and perform.
True. Let us have some feedback from audiences, Mitul. Is it possible?
Yes, sure. Arena Mukherjee Roy, সত্যি বলতে কি এই বাজনার জন্য কোনো বিশেষণই যথেষ্ট নয়, স্পিচলেস।
True.
Aniruddha Mukherjee, Dada Pranam.
Aniruddha, many thanks. You were talking about Gaurav to me so many times. Perhaps next year, would like to see you again. Thank you, Aniruddha.
Shamim Chaudhary, Gauravji, I feel happy about this finger pain, as you mentioned earlier, though I'm still far behind. Larry Villa, very soothing. Sanjay Day has requested Maru Bihag if possible, Gaurav.
Wow. Okay.
Prakash Bhadra, good evening, watching from Bangladesh. And Rafi Haq, so good to watch you performing, Gauravji. God bless you.
Many, many thanks those who are watching. So please share. That is my request. Please share it in your timeline and let others be the part of our conversation and music. Gaurav, is it possible to play Maru Behag? But before you go for the performance, we were talking about Herman Hesse. Herman Hesse, I always quote his Nobel Prize Nobel Prize speech. So he was asked whether he was influenced by any contemporary writers, and Herman Hesse very meaningfully said that he doesn't read any contemporary writer. He was the part of Group 47. Group 47 is a I mean conference of writers. Most of them got Nobel Prize. Gunter Grass, for an example, they got Nobel Prize as well. But he quite meaningfully said that if he was influenced by anything, that is painting. So another question to you, when you play, what would you like to paint actually, if you tell your own personal journey after you play Maru Behag? Thank you.
Was that a question? Sorry, I didn't get the question.
Yeah, so this is, I just quoted from Herman Hesse, the one that you already did. Herman Hesse was asked whether he was influenced by anyone, by especially contemporary writers. So he said no, he doesn't read even contemporary writers. But if he was influenced by anything, it is painting. And I know that we all know that musicians are, more or less a painter. So when you play any raga, what's your personal anecdote? What's your personal approach? Would you do the same? Would you paint something? Your personal.
I'll answer this in two parts. Painting. Okay. Talking of painting.
Yeah.
One of my meetings with Hesse's son, he gifted me some watercolor paintings of Hermann Hesse.
Wow! Hermann Hesse was hugely influenced by painting. True.
Which is a treasure for me. I have framed it, and it's part of my home. So beautiful watercolors, the landscape of Ticino. So that is one part. Second is that when I play, I just play. That's it. I don't think, I don't try. I just do it. Okay. And whatever happens, happens.
Good. Thank you.
Maru Bihag for all of you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Absolutely beautiful, beautiful, Gauravda. Maru Behag is one of my favorite ragas, and just sharing a screen space, a laptop screen with you, it's an honor. It's an absolute honor for me. And earlier you were mentioning about that you don't say no to any work, whatever comes in your way, you don't say no. So that shows how open you are to everything. You want to learn like your Guruji. Every day you want to give yourself a challenge, a new challenge. So that shows that you are, and I don't know how to explain, a Jathartha Shishya of Ravi Shankarji.
Reading from Rumi, this is love, to fly toward a secret sky, to cause 100 veils to fall each moment. First, to let go of life, in the end, to take a step without feet, to regard this world as invisible, and to disregard what appears to be the self. Heart, I said, what a gift it has been to enter this circle of lovers, to see beyond seeing itself, to reach and feel within the breast. Thank you.
Many thanks, Gaurav. Would you like to add anything on your gharana that we perhaps missed? And also, personally, I would request you, if it is not read by yourself, another great masterpiece, perhaps you may find quite similar to Siddhartha, an American writer who is also Nobel laureate, Saul Bellow. Saul Bellow's Henderson the Rain King, a personal, seeking yourself, seeking the identity of yourself, a very spiritual journey that can be explored from Indian point of view. Perhaps it will definitely interest you, but we'll talk about this in person over the phone. But is it possible to elaborate about your gharana, a great gharana that is that made a history in the whole world?
Well, when you talk of Maihar Gharana, there is a certain requirement for what is Gharana to begin with. Gharana basically is when you specialize, and when a Gharana offers something different, something new, and it creates a certain number of musicians and who all, even though they have learned from the same source, they are all different. They are all institutions. And if you have generations of them, 2 or 3, 4, 5 generations, it becomes a gharana. But in Baba's case, let me explain why, even though Baba learned from so many different gurus, his main guru being, of course, Wazir Khan Sahib of Rampur. So from the Senia, it became Maihar Senia because of the immense wealth Baba collected from different gurus, starting from his days in Eastern Bengal to moving to Calcutta, then coming to Rampur, and then traveling, and then going to the West with Uday Shankarji. Baba always kept on learning. He could play any instrument. He learned the violin from a Western violin player, Mr. Lobo. You know, you just name any percussion, any melodic bow instrument or stringed instrument which is plugged, singing. He learned from this great Drupad Dhamar guru, Nulo Gopal, who said that if you want to learn from me, first 12 years I will only teach you scales. And Baba was so much crazy about music, passionate about music. He said yes. So he learned for almost 5-6 years from Nulo Gopal only sargams, until unfortunately Nulo Gopal died and Baba had to move on. So Baba, any source of knowledge, Baba was always there. He was good in writing notation. He would write notations. He was great in memory. He would listen to a piece of music and he'll remember it. So Baba, when he finally settled in Maihar, he had such a great wealth that then what he started teaching was something very different from what had happened before him. Nobody played on an instrument alap jod jhala for 2 hours. And different stages, different progressions of alap, where you start from one note and you go to the next note and the third note, and you go deep into the jod, the different stages of jod, and then the jhala, and then coming to the gat. Either it would be a Dhrupad Dhamar gat where you play in a tal which is Dhamar of 14 beats or Char tal or anything, or based on Khyal where you would have Teen tal gats, or you have gat in different, like nobody ever played like 11 beats, 12 beats, 7 beats, 9 beats. My guru, all his life, he experimented so much, of course, learning from Baba. But take Baba, take Ali Akbar Khan Sahab, take my guru, Ravi Shankar ji, Nikhil Banerjee, they played in all, this was not heard before. So what Baba created and what Baba's disciples created, what they added to this music was so unique, so new, so different, that the generations, even though not from the same gharana of Baba from Maihar, they all started following this music, and today everybody is playing that. You have long alaps, you have jod, you have jhala, you have people playing Pancham Savari, they are playing Rupak, they are playing Jhaptal. So it became a different school. It became a different style, and that's what came to be known as Maihar Seniya Gharana of Baba Ustad Alauddin Khan Sahab and his disciples.
Many thanks. Perhaps we are approaching to end. We have so many things to. We have explored many things and so many things yet to explore actually. And when you sit with such a wonderful musician, it needs perhaps 6-7 hours at least to cover the that you want to cover. Another thing perhaps our audiences would be interested in, what's your advice for the students, for the next generation, musicians of next generation?
Well, I don't think I'm here to give any advice, but I can share what I feel.
Because you teach music as well, yes. So perhaps
I teach music and I share. I don't say that I advise, but the best is to be passionate about music, practice a lot, learn a lot, and work hard. Work hard. There is no substitute to working hard. And do music for the sake of music and not for any goals, because in the end the journey is so beautiful. You don't want the journey to end that you reach a goal and it's all done. So don't look for the goal, enjoy the journey, and just play music without any goals and thinking, oh, I have to achieve this and achieve that. No, just enjoy, just have fun.
consequently, Gaurav, I mean, you covered so many things, but perhaps another thing that I personally want to know, what's your approach to devotion and spirituality? Because this music always has been labeled by Western critics or Western viewers that this talks about devotion, this talks about spirituality, even in our countries as well.
See, the very nature of this music is to go inwards. The very nature of this music is to look within, to go deep, to be calm, to be meditative. And that itself allows you the space where you start feeling that spiritual energy. You don't really have to do anything. You tune your instrument well, you practice, you work hard, and you get immersed in that music, you get lost in that music, you forget everything while you're playing, and you will start experiencing. That's all I can say. Rest, it's such a personal experience that everybody has to do it themselves for them to feel it.
True. True. Shumana, would you like to
Very
add anything?
rightly, very rightly said, Gaurav. The spiritual journey is very personal. You know, one cannot share that experience with anybody. And yes, the instrument has to tune it correctly. Otherwise, बेसुरे instrument के साथ ज़्यादा दूर नहीं जा सकते, है ना? Has to be
Anything
rightly tuned.
Jasmine, anything to add?
Gaurav, it's I'm sitting and counting my blessings. You know, you were saying about how you feel. I think I had the privilege of meeting you very briefly at the Baban Center last year, but we didn't get to talk or anything. So this has been a real a privilege this evening, and I think you know this kind of music. You know, every time you're playing the sitar. It transcends us to this kind of different world. Well, for me, I should talk about my personal experience. And I think it does strongly influence our emotions. Almost, you know, I often seek refuge in this kind of music. It releases almost blockages, you know, things that I'm struggling to deal with in terms of feelings and emotions. So I often wonder with, you know, masters of classical music like yourself, whether you are almost with the depth of your devotion and submission, whether you almost become oblivious to the power and the strength you have in the music, you know, in the power and the strength you give us as, you know, as kind of a lay person sitting in the audience and listening to you. So I've often wondered that, wanted to ask you whether, because you were saying when you play, you just play, whether you think about.
To tell you the truth, I really don't consider myself a master. And that's a fact. I'm not just saying it because you all are listening and people are listening to me. I feel I have a long way to go in terms of getting much more hold over the music, you know, because it's such a vast, it's an ocean. It's an ocean. You can never say that I know it all and I have done it all and I'm perfect. It can never be. So that's something which makes me work hard every day, practice every day, and go deep into my music. Rest when it comes to play, because I enjoy what I do, because I enjoy music, because I enjoy playing. I just pick up my instrument and whatever comes out, I'm lucky that people like it. So that's all I can say to your question.
Mitul?
Yes, we spent a great evening rejoicing, and I'm taking away a lot of optimism and courage and hope. It feels like, in spite of all the deaths and destructions, just to live is so divine because of this session of insightful talk and hypnotic music. Thank you so much, Gauravji.
Is there any comment you'd like to share from audiences, or anything that we missed?
Just a couple. Sophia Hoffman, I guess a student of Gauravji. A beautiful session filled with art and wonderful music. Feeling so blessed for being taught by Gauravji. Sending best wishes to you all.
She's a wonderful, wonderful singer, and she is from Portugal, and a wonderful human being. And she did come to London last year to join my masterclass there.
Great.
And she came to India also this year and last year. And she's a very, very serious. Listen to her. She's a very good musician.
Anything else, Mitul?
Yeah, Sanjay there. Thanks a lot, Gaurav, for the soulful Marubihag. And then there's a request from Raju Bob for a Rag Bhairavi, if possible.
Yeah, so we are going to end with Rag Bhairavi actually, if Gaurav is happy to do this. But one thing that we'd like to mention as well, through these discussions, we talked about a great musicians of 20th century, Alauddin Khanji, who made such a beautiful, illustrious legacy. And he is also the symbol of true secularism. In this society, we talk about secularism, but it doesn't happen in real sense. He was he used to go for prayer of Fajr, and then he used to do Saraswati Puja and Ganesh Puja as well because of his, and he pays his huge devotion to Saraswati and Ganesh. So, and as a musician, he didn't find any conflict between god or goddesses from different.
Baba was an amazing human being. I'm so
Exactly.
happy you have brought this topic. I'll mention a few things
Yeah,
if you're.
please go on, please go on, Gaurav.
I don't want to overshoot the time limit you have.
No,
Uh,
please go on, please go on, please go on, Gaurav.
if you go to Baba's home in Maihar,
Right.
Maihar, imagine Maihar 100 years back.
Mm-hmm.
Tiny small village. Maihar till date is known only for two things. If the first two things we learn after we are born is Ma and Baba. Maihar is known for Ma Sharada because there is a temple of Sharada Ma there.
Mm-hmm.
And Maihar is known for Baba Ustad Alauddin Khan Sahab. You go to the station and you say, I have to go to Baba. They'll say, oh, go straight and right and you reach. And the amazing thing is that Baba Alauddin Khan Sahab, if you want to go to Ma Sharada's Mandir, you have to cross Baba's house. And Baba would go, he would go all the steps. It's quite high on top of a hill, Ma's Mandir. And Baba would go for darshan there. And Baba also said that when Baba had this desire that he be buried, he be cremated once he's gone, in his compound only where he taught all his great disciples. But he said, put me in the ground in a way that every morning I can have darshan of Ma Sharada. Baba would do 5 times a day, he would offer namaz.
Exactly.
At the same time, Baba, when he went, it was somewhere in Jerusalem or somewhere, Guruji told me that Guruji took Baba to a church, ancient church, and as soon as Baba went inside and he saw Mother Mary, Baba started crying. He says, Ma, tumi kothay chole gechile? Ma, tumi, I've seen you finally. So Baba was, I mean, you go to his music room, you have Kali, you have Durga, you have Saraswati, you have Makkah, Medina, you have Jesus Christ, you have Mother Mary. Everybody is there, which doesn't really, for me, it is not about he believing in all this religion. It is about he connects to all these people whose primary source is the same. They all taught the same things. They came from the same place, and Baba was one of them. For me, Baba's picture also needs to be there with all these people because Baba attained that place through his sadhana and through his music.
And this is the true ethos of secularism, Gaurav. I mean, we talk about secularism, but we do not believe in true sense. And that is an example that you, from your narration, from your narrative, that depicts a true example of secularism.
Baba will remain an example for hundreds, and as his guru Ustad Wazir Khan Sahab blessed him, that till there is sun and moon, Alam, your name will be there. Baba will, by his contribution, his legacy. I mean, he would ask his students to practice, while if there is any household work, if there is no vegetable at home or there is no, he would take the bag and go to the shop and bring while his students are practicing. He would not send the students, or stop your practice and go, and no. You are here to learn music and practice. You don't practice, you don't stay here, you go back. That's why they all became such gems, and they all came out to be such great, wonderful musicians. So much to learn.
Exactly. True.
From Baba, his life and his music.
Exactly. So many thanks, Gaurav. We'll move on to the last performance.
I must add here that I'm so lucky because Baba would come to Allahabad and live in our home.
Wow.
I have a precious picture, very beautiful photograph where my father must be maybe only 10 years old. In front of our main bedroom where my Dida and Dadu used to live, which later became my Baba's house, my father's room. And we lived in that. I was almost born in that room and brought up there. And in front of that room, Baba is sitting on a chair with my grandfather and grandmother, Dadu and Dida. And my one uncle is there, my Pishima is there, and my father is leaning on Dadu's lap. And they had a picture. My eldest uncle was a disciple of Baba. My grandfather was a great friend of Baba. They would discuss music, tappa, Dhopad Dhamar. And my fourth uncle, Nalin Mazumdar ji, he was a Gandaban Shagird of Ustad Ali Akbar Khan Sahab. And I was lucky to come to Guruji. I'll mention one more story. My Pishima, Sadhuna Bo, because I come from a musical family. One of my maternal uncle was Jaganmoy Mitra. Then Supriti Ghosh was one of my other maternal aunts. So the Calcutta radio station was founded by one of my maternal uncles. So Annapurna ji was staying in our home in Allahabad. Wow. And my Pishi, that time she was learning the sitar and she had an exam. And Annapurna ji said, can you play something? I want to listen. So she started and she said, no, your sitar is not in tune. So she took the sitar and she tuned it. And my Pishi, many times I've heard this story. My Pishi said she just tuned the sitar and she just strummed it. And she said, I started crying. I started howling in front of her. She didn't even play it. She just tuned the sitar. Just strummed it. And she said, I started crying. So we have this. And my Baba, every time he would come, our Allahabad home, he would say, every brick in this house has music. Even the lizard in this house sings in tune.
True.
It's a blessing. And Baba, Guruji, Ustad Ali Akbar Khan Sahab, Annapurna ji, they have all blessed our home, our ancestors and our people. And I'm really, really very, very, very blessed. What can I say? There is so much to be grateful about.
True, Gaurav. Let us finish with your Rag Bhairavi, and for audiences, please share. And we talked about some great musicians of this of 20th century. One thing, Gaurav, I'm not sure whether you know about this, that Raviji's brother is also another groundbreaking, history-making dancer. That James Joyce, one of the 20th century's finest writer, saw his performance in Dublin. Uday Shankarji went and danced there, and James Joyce wrote to his daughter who lived in Vienna and said, soon this man, Uday Shankar, moves on the stage. I saw a semi-divine being just moving around the stage. And there is still, I came up with an impression that there is still some beautiful things left in this poor world. So Uday Shankar is going to Vienna, my daughter, do not miss his performance. So, I mean, that level of, so these two brothers actually made a historical height of Indian.
You have now added another dimension to your program, and it's really compelling me to speak a little more. Do you mind?
Please do, Gaurav. This is something that we want to explore.
Because Uday Shankar ji was an institution. And Uday Shankar ji, and this is my guru's words, Uday Shankar ji was the first person who put India's culture on the global map.
Exactly.
Uday Shankar ji, these are all Guruji's quotations. I am just saying it will help you understand who Uday Shankar ji was.
Exactly.
When Uday Shankar ji came on stage, you would feel you're seeing God. You would be mesmerized. If he was coming as Shiva, if he was doing Shiva's Tandav, you will feel that Shiva is dancing in front of you. If he came as Krishna, You'll feel he was so beautiful, he was so magnetic.
Uh-huh.
And if there was no Uday Shankar, nothing would have happened. I will say this because my guru, all his life, he said, I have got two gurus. First, my Dada Uday Shankar. Dada taught me so much. He taught me to appreciate the greatness of our heritage, our music, our dance.
Even he took him to Baba Alauddin Khan. He took him
Of
too.
course,
He took Ravi too.
because that's why I'm saying if there was no Uday Shankar, none of this would happen.
Exactly.
Because Uday Shankar ji took this dance form, which later on started to be called Uday Shankar ji style, to the world. And you talk of the topmost auditoriums and festivals Uday Shankar ji was performing. He was being booked by the top agents, and he was at that time rubbing shoulders with stars of Hollywood and all the top people you just name, and they were. And it was Uday Shankar ji who invited Baba Alauddin Khan Sahab to join the troupe and travel with him. That's how that whole meeting of my guru and Baba Ustad Alauddin Khan Sahab was thanks to Uday Shankar ji, and from there a relationship grew where my guru left everything, went to Mayyar, and you all know. So Uday Shankar ji was an institution. I mean, you talk of Guru Dutt. Whose product is Guru Dutt? Guru Dutt was a student of Uday Shankar ji in Almora.
Exactly.
Yeah. You talk of Zora Sehgal, such a famous personality in Europe and in India. Uday Shankar ji's disciple. You just name it. And Uday Shankar ji helped. One primary thing which he did, that music and dance at that time was really looked down upon. So all the elites, all the educated people in their house, in their living room or in their home, if music and dance reached, it was thanks to Uday Shankar ji.
Exactly. Agreed.
As Baba Alauddin Khan Sahab always told my guru's mother that you are a Ratna Garbha, that from your womb you have given birth to such gems.
True.
Uday Shankar ji was one of the greatest genius. Look at Kalpana. Satyajit Ray, before starting his film career, he must have started before making Pather Pachali and later Aparajito and Opu Shankar. He has seen Kalpana at least 15-20 times. And he said, every time I saw, I found something new.
New, exactly. True.
So
true.
a dancer who had no training in dance, a choreographer who, I mean, he was a painter.
Exactly.
He went
to
Royal
was a painter as well.
He went to the Royal College of Art, London, to study art, and he became a dancer, and he became Uday Shankar. He became an icon. So I'm so happy you touched upon this, because Guruji always said, my Dada, my first Guru, my second Guru, Baba Ustad Alauddin Khan Sahab, and you have seen me as being a famous musician and performing and being. You have not seen. I'm not even a fraction of what my Dada was. You should have seen his fame and his name.
Exactly. True.
So this explains what Dada was, and I mean his Shankar scope, one of the last productions he did, where he put together shadow and play, and he put, there is film viewing and he is doing dance. I mean, it's also, and when he would dance, you could see ripples of his muscles flowing. He had such a supple, such a wonderful body, and his expressions. I mean, he was born. I mean, he was Nataraj personified. So yeah, absolutely.
Many thanks for this educational and I mean eye-opening session. Many thanks, Gaurav. Please, we would like to finish with Bhairavi, Rag Bhairavi. Fantastic.
Maybe somebody was asked it. You realize it's going to be shortly 3 hours since we have started.
Exactly. Exactly. It would be unending actually, because you have got so many things to explore about, Gaurav. This is perhaps we'll have another session, and I'm looking forward to see you person to person, in person, while you are in London, or show the perhaps as part of show those live events. Uh, 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 Ah, আবার ah, ah. Ah, Gaurav, you absolutely filled filled up the heart with eternal vastness. Gratitude is just a very limited words to express how we all feel now after this sacred recital of Bhairavi. I just came up with just 3 or 4 lines of a great post-Tagorian poet of Bengal, Omiyo Chakraborty. ওগো সুদূর জীবন দিয়ে দাঁড়াও হে একবার, ওগো সুদূর জীবন দিয়ে দাঁড়াও হে একবার, চিত্তাকাশে দাও হে খুলে দিগন্ত নীল দ্বার, বেকুল হয়ে রবচে চরম তোমার আভাস বেয়ে, চোখের আলোয় কাঁপবে আসি অচিন অন্ধকার, জীবন জুড়ে অসীম তুমি দাঁড়াও হে একবার। Gauravda, namaste. No words are enough to compliment this great music you did and this great adda we have.
My pleasure. My
Such
pleasure.
a great, such a profound, insightful conversation we have so far. So, ladies and gentlemen, those who are watching, you have surely the similar experience. So, as part of this Shaudha talk and concert series, we will be featuring again some world-class musicians, poets, filmmakers, and artists of different genres all around the globe, as you know. So please stay tuned. Please click like on that page to be updated about our future events. And I personally would like to see Gauravda as Shaudha's programming next year. I'm personally planning some unique productions. Many thanks, Gauravda. Many thanks, Shomana, for beautiful input, for wonderful input. Jasmine, Mitul, we'll have a wonderful rest of the night, I'm sure, and will be immersed still the silence you painted with your beautiful music and talk, Gauravda. Gratitude, and again, a huge respect to your parents, your mom, and your family members who support you to be shaped as the musician as you are now. Many thanks again. See you soon.
Thank you.